Hey everyone, Ashlen here with Gathering Magic, and today we're going to be covering our top picks from Battle for Zendikar. For today's lineup, we have Kenji, aka Numat the Nummy, Adam Styborski, Kevin the Rogue Deck Builder, Morgan Wentworth, myself, and much more. But enough about that, there is a lot to cover today, so let's go ahead and get started.
Hello friends, Kenji aka Numat the Nummy here for another edition of my top limited picks, this time for Battle with Zendikar. Just like with all of my top pick videos, we're going to go through my top 3 commons, the top 3 uncommons, top 3 rares, and then the top mythic for this set. Let's jump right into it. Number 3, top common in Battle for Zendikar, I'm going to go with Sheer Drop. Now, we've seen, removal spells all the time, but this one, you have the unique versatility, the ability to also awaken on this card. Now, awaken is a new mechanic that we see where you can pay extra to get the same effect as initially printed on the card, in addition to making your lands a creature. This one costs 6 and it's awaken 3, so not only do you get to destroy a tapped creature, but you can make one of your lands a 3/3 if you would like to do so. So top 3rd common is going to be Sheer Drop, 1 white, 2 colorless. Second top common from Battle for Zendikar, I'm going to go with Unnatural Aggression. We've seen a bunch of fight effects these past few years in a ton of Magic formats, but this one is 1 green, 2 colorless. It's an instant. Not often do we get a fight effect at instant speed. Usually times there's sorcery, so I can see this card being very, very blowout potentially. And it's in green, where you're going to have a lot of big creatures in addition to all of your Eldrazi's anyways. So number 2 common, Unnatural Aggression. My top common for this set is going to be Eldrazi Sky Spawner. This is 1 blue, 2 colorless for a 2/1 flyer. When it enters the battlefield, you get to put a 1/1 Eldrazi spawn token into play. Now, we've seen this type of card before, different iterations, Seller of Songbirds, more recently Sandstep Outcast. But this time, the 2/1 is the flyer, and the 1/1 has an ability where you can sack it to ramp your mana. I think this card is going to be very, very good. I would take it very highly in draft and play it very highly in sealed. Eldrazi Sky Spawner, my number 1 top common from Battle for Zendikar. Let's move to the uncommons now. Number 3, top uncommon from Battle for Zendikar, Stasis Snare. And again, we've seen this type of ability time and time again. Oblivion Ring, Banishing Light, and this one only exiles creatures, but unlike others, this has Flash. Pretty dang good. So it exiles the creature until Stasis Snare leaves the battlefield. Flash, I'm going to see this card many, many times. My opponents blow out me, would take it very highly. Stasis Snare, 3rd best uncommon in this format. Number 2, I'm going to go with Grip of Desolation. This one is 2 black, 4 colorless. Exile target land and exile target creature. Doesn't seem too good at first. Exiling a land, that seems okay, but not great. But wait, there are a ton of Awakened cards in this format. I can see this card, and it has happened already to me, killing my creature and then my Awakened creature. So not only is it killing a land, it's killing a land that's a creature. It's a nice little 2-for-1, it's an instant, it's in black. Grip of Desolation, number 2 best uncommon from Battle for Zendikar. Number 1 best uncommon from Battle for Zendikar, and this should be to no surprise with anybody that's played the set even a little bit. This card, you remember it from Tempest Block if you played that long ago, Rolling Thunder. Now, they said they wouldn't generally print these cards, and we don't expect them to generally print these type of cards in limited, or for limited, but they went and did. This is 2 red X. You just get to divide the damage as you choose. It is a sorcery, but hey, if you've got 7 mana, you can go ping, 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 kill 5 1/1s, etc., etc. Rolling Thunder, easily, my opinion, the best uncommon from Battle for Zendikar. Let's go to the rares now. Now, rares are obviously more powerful in general than commons or uncommons, but I think you'll see a common theme here with the removal suite, and in fact, I think some of the uncommons might be better than these rares, but we'll see. Number 3, best rare from Battle for Zendikar, Brutal Expulsion. This one is 1 blue, 1 red, 2 colorless. Instant, return target creature or spell to its owner's hand, and then deal 2 damage to target creature or player, and if you exile a creature with this damage, if you kill a creature with this damage, it is exiled instead of going to the graveyard. This gives you a ton of versatility. It's kind of like a mini cryptic command, or one of the commands from the previous sets that we've seen. It's got a Venser-esque counter mode. This card is very, very good. Just all around solid. Brutal Expulsion. Third best rare from Battle for Zendikar. Number 2, Guardian of Tazim. 2 blue, 3 colors, 4/5 flyer. Already great stats. Already would play this in all of my blue decks. This one has a landfall ability. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you may tap a creature an opponent controls. But wait, there's more. If that land is an island, that creature does not untap during its controller's next untap phase. So let me get this right. 5 mana for a 4/5 flyer. Already great stats. If you happen to play islands, which I assume you do because you're playing a blue creature, you get to keep tapping down your opponent's creatures. This card is very, very balmy. It's going to be one of the best cards to open in draft or sealed, Guardian of Tazim. My number 1 choice for rare in Battle for Zendikar is the Planner Outburst. We saw Awaken card earlier in Sheer Drop, and this one's similar. It is in white again. This one's destroy all non-land creatures. Not bad, but wait, it has Awaken 4 for 8 mana. So not only are you getting a 4/4 if you pay 8, you're generally wiping all of your opponent's creatures, and you can take advantage of it if you have more Awakened creatures, because they're not going to die either. Now don't get me wrong, sometimes your opponent is going to have some lands that are creatures that they've awakened from, on their own, but this effect is still so hard to pass up. It's going to be very, very good. My number 1 rare from Battle for Zendikar, Planner Outburst. Now the top mythic should make nobody surprised. There are a lot of good mythics in this set, but my number 1 choice for mythic is Ulamog the Ceaseless Hunger. It is very expensive, don't get me wrong, but like we've mentioned before, there are tons of ways to ramp your mana, whether it be the Eldrazi spawn or just cards that gets you extra lands from your library anyways. Ulamog instantly affects the board, exiles 2 permanents, and whenever he attacks, well, he's going to take a large chunk of your opponent's library away with him. Not to mention, a huge creature to boot. Ulamog the Ceaseless Hunger, top mythic from this set. So let's just go over my top limited picks one more time. The commons, the uncommons, the rares, and the mythic. The top 3 commons, starting from 3 and going down to 1, we have Sheer Drop, Unnatural Aggression, and Eldrazi Sky Spawner. Top 3 uncommons, Stasis Snare, Grip of Desolation, Rolling Thunder. Top 3 rares, Brutal Expulsion, Guardian of Tazim, and Planner Outburst. And your top mythic, Ulamog the Ceaseless Hunger. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Don't forget to follow me on all the social medias at Numathanami. And don't forget to check out my videos here on Gathering Magic, Drafting with Numat. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you back next time.
Hey everybody, it's Adam Styborski, content manager for GatheringMagic.com, command tower writer on MagicTheGathering.com, and a member of the recent 2015 Community Cup winning team. I want to talk to you about my picks for Commander from Battle for Zendikar. I've got 4 cards, 1 for each rarity, and plus a couple honorable mentions to throw on the end. So let's get to it. The first is the common Natural Connection. It's an instant speed, rampant growth for 3 mana. I love being able to hold up mana for other effects, especially if you're worried about being able to counter a spell or cast a removal spell for a creature. Any of the other things that you would want to do for 3 mana, you can leave up. And if you don't need any of those things, you've got an extra land to cast instead. It's early enough that you can cast it low on the curve at the beginning of the game, and you can also just wait and do it later in the game. The second card that I chose is the uncommon Vampiric Rites. I love sacrifice effects. I love getting those extra cards and creatures off the battlefield when you don't need them anymore. This is a throttled way. It's a 1 mana enchantment that just kind of sits there and it costs 1 and a black to sacrifice a creature, but picking up a couple extra life is good. Drawing a couple extra cards is way better. And being able to translate cards that have already used their effectiveness, like some sort of Mana War or some other, one-time effect creature like a Muldrifter that's just kind of sitting there and is going to chump block, getting 1 more card out of that, getting 1 extra life along the way, pays off in the end. The third card that I chose is the rare Emiria Shepherd. This thing is a beast. 7 mana for a 4/4 flying doesn't sound that attractive, especially when you can get, like 8/8 dragons or something like that instead. But in white, the ability to just get cards back from the battlefield by playing lands is amazing. It's non-land permanent, so you're not going to get back your crazy instants and sorceries or take a bunch of extra turns just kind of looping lands over and over and over. But for aggressive decks, like mono-white decks or white-red decks that really love to have powerful equipment, powerful creatures, things that provide pressure to opponents and get through blockers, getting those back late in the game and kind of reloading off of just playing a couple lands is amazing. I'm really looking forward to what this deck can do, and yes, I'm aware that Sakura Tribe Elder plus Emiria Shepherd means that you can fetch all of the planes out of your deck. It's very cute and all, but there are so many other things that you can do with it, and so much value that you can pull from it, that I'll be shocked when I don't see this in a deck going forward. The fourth card that I chose is the Mythic Void Winnower. I got to preview this on MagicTheGathering.com, and it's just plain weird. I think there are other mythics that are splashier and more powerful, and one of them made my honorable mentions, but Void Winnower is just kind of encapsulates how I really enjoy Commander. It's not going to lock anyone out of casting everything in their hand, because they probably have a bunch of odd spells that they can cast, making so tokens can't chump block, and suddenly they've got to think about, blocking with their big creatures and their real creatures, and taking the token decks a little step down and being able to be so defensive is great. And it's just one of those effects that I think doesn't lock anyone out of doing stuff, but turns the entire game a little sideways. It makes you really reconsider what my next play is going to be. Obviously it doesn't affect you, so cast all the even spells you want, but until somebody decides to deal with it, they're going to have to rethink what they want to do, and I love that pause and reconsider that gets games out of kind of an autopilot for how people are playing their decks out. Those are my picks for Commander from Battle for Zendikar. I know you have picks too. Add them to the comments below. Tell me what you're going to put in decks and why. I want to know what else you're excited about. That's all for this week. Thanks, guys.
Hey everyone, Ashlen here, and today I'm going to be covering the top 5 picks for Battle for Zendikar art. We have 2 commons, 2 uncommons, and a mythic rare. So let's go ahead and check them out. Starting off with the commons, we have Swell of Growth. This is by Miguel Villeneuve, and you may know her from one of her other recent pieces of art, which is Narset Transcendent. So let's just start off by looking at the card. It's beautiful. The details are crisp, they're clean, and what really draws me to it is the gradient of cool colors moving from the bottom left hand of the piece all the way up to the right corner shifting to warm. It's such a powerful image, and I just think that she did a wonderful job of capturing what this card is. Next up, we have Oracle of Dust, which is another common, and this one's by Jason Rainville. You will probably recognize his art by Zergo Bellstriker. Just look at the Eldrazi. Look at him. Look how serene this whole image is. You have this big Eldrazi who's sitting in this pretty peaceful way, looking into the sunset and playing with the water. And just the details of the muscles all the way down to the hands and the tentacles. It's awesome. All right, moving right along to the uncommons. The first one we have is Retreat to Coral Helm. And when this was first spoiled, I lost it. I loved the art on this card. It's by Kieran Yaner, and it takes you to this safe haven of giant conchs that these people are using for homes. And I don't know if it's behind a waterfall, underwater, something, but it's just really pretty. And the blues mixing with the pinks, the colors just give off this peaceful vibe, and it makes you forget about all the chaos that's happening right now. And I really appreciate that. The next uncommon we have is Vile Aggregate, and this one is, oh man, it's sick. This one is by Chris Rollis. One of his other pieces of work is the Dragon Whisperer, which is gorgeous as well. So when you look at the image, it's this zoomed out caption of this Eldrazi drone that is comprised of all these other sorts of Eldrazi that are becoming one, and it's just a beast. It really captures this moment where I could imagine this thing coming out and doing some kind of cry and having all these Eldrazi flock to it and turning into this horrible, vile thing, and it's just awesome. So last but definitely not least is Void Winnower, aka Can't Even, and this is a mythic rare. It's by Chase Stone, and if you've ever heard of the card Dragonlord Ojutai, then you might have seen his artwork. So first impressions of this is just look at the sheer depth of the image. You start by, you're almost looking up at this huge Eldrazi, and yeah, sure, we know Eldrazi's are huge, cool, but this just really captures it. It's this thing just blew through a mountain. I mean, we have the details of all the little rock particles just falling and crumbling around it, and the way the lighting hits the back of it just really, it brings forth this powerful image of all the destruction it brings with it. All right, let's go ahead and quickly recap the top 5 picks for me, and that is going to be for commons, we have Oracle of Dust and Swell of Growth. Uncommons, Retreat to Coralhelm and Vile Aggregate. And for the mythic rare, we have Void Winnower. And I know what you guys are thinking. What about all the land cards? We know they're amazing. That was one of the highlights of the entire set. The lands are all beautiful. They're not even in contention. We know they're great. And I just wanted to take some time to highlight some other pieces of art that I thought were really cool and really stood out in the set. So I hope you guys enjoyed.
Hi there, I'm Morgan from Gathering Magic's series Drafting with Morgan, bringing you my top pick from the keywords in Battle for Zendikar. From Awaken to Trample, Battle for Zendikar has a lot going on. Lands can be spells, creatures can be allies, and people are planning on casting 10 drops in a 40-card format. It's a lot to take in. That's why in Battle for Zendikar, I plan on looking to an old favorite strategy to up my limited game. Skies, involving lots and lots of flyers. Fly keeps your creatures from getting chump blocked by Scions or munched on by Baloths, which is why it is my top pick for Battle for Zendikar keyword. Get ready to first pick those Shadow Gliders and Mist Intruders, and good luck.
Hi there, it's Kevin with RogueDeckBuilder.com. GatheringMagic.com has asked me once again to review my top 3 cards from Battle for Zendikar that I'm most excited to brew around. And we're not going to talk about the obvious choice. But of course, my obvious pick would be Zulaport Cutthroat. It is just like catnip to a person like me brewing around a card that has any sort of die effect for Arouse the Ancestor type brew. So we're going to ignore that, and we're going to give my top 3 other cards, besides not named Zulaport Cutthroat, that I'm excited to brew around. The first one is Kiora, Master of the Depths. Kiora the Master of the Depths is a very interesting card to me because my favorite deck in Modern is actually Tooth and Nail. Soul Sisters is kind of my go-to deck, probably the deck that I'm most known for. Is Soul Sisters, but Tooth and Nail is my favorite Modern deck to play, whether it be casually or even at smaller tournaments, just to get out of the Xenagos it's the Xenagos and the Emrakul combo, where you can give Emrakul +15/+15 in haste, and the entire deck is trying to assemble that combo. So right now, Tooth and Nail isn't what I consider a complete deck like other Moderns. You have some cards that you don't want to play in the deck, but there's just no other options, and I think that's like Harmonize is one of them, or if you go the Nykthos Shining Nyx route, and Courser of Krufix or Primeval Titan, or any of those other enablers to try to ramp up and cast Tooth and Nail without going the land enchant route. So what I really like about Kiora, Master of the Depths is it's just, I kind of want to think of it as another Garruk in the deck, Gerald Wildspeak, but Kiora is actually more interesting to me than Garruk is, because Garruk untaps 2 lands. Now in Tooth and Nail, you usually just want to enchant 1 land, so you put all of your Overgrowths and all of your Utopia Sprawls on 1 land. That way with your Voidsing Satyrs and Arbor Elves, you can untap that specific land. Now Kiora and Garruk untaps 2 lands, so what you end up happening with Garruk is you untap 1 land that's not enchanted and your main land that is enchanted, but usually you can still generate enough mana for the Tooth and Nail. Kiora, however, her +1 untaps up to 1 target creature and up to 1 target land. So if you have like an Overgrowth on the land, you can untap that land and also untap your Arbor Elf, floating easily enough mana for Tooth and Nail to come on time on turn 3 or turn 4, which is ideally what you want to do. Her -2 is also pretty good in Tooth and Nail because it does completely replaces the Harmonize type ability, because if you have to cast her for 4 mana, which is what you're doing with Harmonize, you can reveal the top 4 cards of your libraries and put a creature card and a land into your hand. So eventually, if you can -2 Kiora a few times and get the value out of it, you'll be able to drop enough lands and creatures naturally just to cast Tooth and Nail. So I'm really excited to brew out Kiora, Master of the Depths, for the Tooth and Nail deck. The next card I want to talk about is the Smothering Abomination. Smothering Abomination is a card that I think really should have been printed in a set like the Dragons of the Tarkir. But now we have the Grim Harris specs and the Smothering Abomination that trigger off sacrifice type abilities. So I think that Smothering Abomination is going to be the card that really ties together. It'll give you the card advantage. It also has a nice body on it through whenever you sacrifice a creature, you'll get that card advantage. And I think that it's a pretty sweet design, and I'm going to be really excited to put it in an exploit deck or a Zulaport Cutthroat deck, let's be honest here, or any creature-based Eldrazi spawn deck just to get a lot of value out of it. The other card I want to talk about that I'm most excited is Molten Nursery. I really, really, really think this card is a pretty sweet design. I'm liking it in Modern, the implications it has in Modern more than in Standard. I just don't think that you can do as much cool things. And there's actually a few other cards like the Molten Nursery that have sort of the same effect of casting colorless spells. There's the Kozilek Sentinel that gets +1/+1 until the turn whenever cast a colorless spell. And we also have the Nettle Drone, which you get to untap it every time you cast a colorless spell. Now remember, the artifacts are colorless spells, and there already is a ton of ways in Modern to either make some recurring loops with different artifacts or to reduce their cost. We have an entire deck like Eggs that just tries to cast more and more and more artifacts per turn, and each time you do that, you can either untap or give Kozilek Sentinel +1/+0, but it's Molten Nursery that takes the cake with abilities, because this says whenever you cast a color spell, it deals 1 damage to a creature or player, so you can actually take care of early drops with the color spells that you cast, and then later on when you can assemble like the infinite loop combos, Molten Nursery can actually act as your finisher. So I think that there's enough Devoid cards and artifacts right now in Standard to make it worthwhile for a Molten Nursery type deck, but I really think this card shines in Modern. It will be only a matter of time before someone breaks this card into, I don't know if it will warp the format or if it will be a tier 1 strategy in Modern, but I definitely think it will be contender for the Modern type strategy. So once again, besides Zulaport Cutthroat, that is by far and away my favorite card in the set, we have Kiora at number 3, and Smothering Abomination at number 2, and Molten Nursery at number 1. As always, if you like my Rogue Brews, come check out my channel at Rogue Deck Builder, YouTube/Rogue Deck Builder, and Twitch on Tuesday at twitch.tv/Rogue Deck Builder. Thanks.
Alright, that pretty much covers all the top picks for today. Don't forget to let us know what you think of them in the comments below, as well as what some of your favorites are. And if you like this show, be on the lookout for a brand new production with Gathering Magic, where we're going to be covering all sorts of Magic topics and featuring all sorts of guests. So until then, we will see you later. Thanks for watching.